Jams, jams, jams. Picture books and jams. Welcome, everybody, to PBJamz. Music and picture books. What a perfect sandwich. Squish them all together. What a yummy snack.
Good morning or afternoon, whenever it is that you are joining us for PBJamz. We are super excited that you are here. I am here via Zoom with Tara Trudel for the second time on PBJamz, and I love having Tara. We always have a great time talking music and books and music teaching and all the fun things. And today is a special visit because she is talking about her album, which released back in May, and it is called Fractured Fairy Tales Remixed. And we know that Fractured Fairy Tales are all the bomb. So welcome back, Tara. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me back. I'm so excited to be here.
Always fun to chat with you. And I've been listening to the album off and on since before it released, but it is so fun. Such a fun album. So many just really super fun and energetic songs, some special guests on there. So just tell us how the idea came about and how it all got started.
Yeah, so Fractured has been many years in the making. When I first started teaching elementary school and early childhood music, I had the idea that someday I'd like to do an album. And it didn't quite come together in those days. And then I started working at Second City, doing comedy shows mostly for adults, but I also did some kids comedy while I was there. And the whole time I was at Second City, I kind of thought to myself, I would still love to do a children's album. And wouldn't it be cool if it was structured like a sketch comedy show? So that was kind of an idea that I had in my mind for a long time. And then after Second City, I started doing a lot of theme songs for picture books. And so then I kind of thought, what if I have this album that is a little bit comedy, a little bit songwriting, and a little bit picture book, kidlit inspired. So when I came up with the idea for Fairy Tales, sorry, my eye is like totally watering over here.
You're fine.
When I came up with the idea for Fairy Tales, it was just the perfect fit. And I had so much fun working on this project. So I'm glad that you think it's fun, because that's the fun that I had working on it coming through.
Oh yeah, it is super fun. I was listening to the beginning song, tell me what's the story, and that kind of opens us up into the story that you're telling on the album, which is kind of giving some of the other characters a chance to tell their sides of the story, which I love. Yeah. And so, gosh, I don't know, just tell us all the things. I know you probably can't choose a favorite. Do you have a favorite?
So I truly could not pick a favorite.
Yeah.
I was just so excited to work with all the people who agreed to work on the album with me. And I feel like part of the idea of making an album that's like a sketch comedy show was that like sort of each piece has its role in the overall album. It was a challenge because I wanted the songs to be able to stand alone, but I also wanted them to kind of advance the overall themes and contribute to the energy of the overall album. So it would be really hard for me to take a piece out and pick a favorite.
That's what I figured. I have to ask, but
I know.
like choosing a favorite child, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They are our babies once we've spent all this time working on them. So talk about maybe the particular challenges. Was there a song that was more challenging than any of the others?
There was. So I knew like kind of early on that I wanted to have a song about a magic mirror. And I just couldn't crack it for a while. The Magic Mirror song actually had 5 full rewrites, totally like lyrics, music, everything. Like they were different styles, different angles on it, until I discovered that Ask Me Anything hook in that song. So then I came onto the premise of like the magic mirror is frustrated because it only ever gets asked who's the fairest of them all, when there are thousands of questions, millions of questions in the world that you could ask this mirror.
Yeah.
Once I found that Ask Me Anything hook, then the rest of the song finally came together. But that one was definitely a struggle along the way.
Yeah, I think that's that's a very natural, sometimes it's like that, right? The things that make the most sense but they're just elusive for a while. Yeah. But once you find it, you're like, oh my gosh, that's perfect. And it is that it's perfect. And you can certainly see how for sure that mirror would feel that way if it were a real character, like, really, can you not ask me something besides this one question every time? Like, I am more than just that.
I think it speaks to the power of revision, right? Like if you keep going and just kind of trust your ideas, like that they will flesh themselves out if you keep at it. That was powerful for me to, just really stick with it and not give up on that song, because it ended up being a really special song to me. And my son also does voiceover work on that one at the end, so it's special.
Love that. Yeah, so fun. So maybe talk to us a little bit about what is your writing process when you well, like for the album overall, did you like flesh out the story first, or did you have bits and pieces of the specific songs and characters you wanted to do first? What was that process like?
Yeah, so I knew I wanted it to be character driven songs, so I kind of started brainstorming just ideas for characters from fairy tales that maybe we haven't heard from as much, or maybe I thought I had a fresh take on. Some themes. I had little jokes also that I'd write down, kind of like, for example, the little good wolf who huffs and puffs and blows bubbles. Like that was an idea that I had, was like,
Love that.
yeah, so I just had this notebook where I had all these ideas, and as I was brainstorming, I kind of felt like, okay, there's a lot here. I think I should start writing some songs as sort of a proof of concept. So the Little and Good was actually the first song that I fully wrote for the album. And when I wrote that, I felt like, okay, like this is super fun to work on. It feels like there's a lot of material here that I can continue with.
Yeah.
So at that point that I wrote a couple of other songs, and then I sort of started organizing it into the structure that you would use for a sketch comedy show. Because there are certain things you would always have in a sketch comedy show. You would have kind of like a grounded, like they call it like a relationship scene, but for me that was kind of like the Sleeping Beauty character, like she just needs a nap. It's like a straightforward way to sort of introduce this idea to audiences about how to listen to the album. And then you'd have like an ensemble piece, which I did with like the trio of villains who come in and sing. And then the little blackouts, those are the very short energy bump songs that are spread throughout the album that kind of give you a little boost throughout. So I kind of thought about those things as I was writing too, like how would this work if it was a sketch comedy show?
Interesting. Yeah. I love Little and Good. That's a super fun. There's been so much done with the wolf. I mean, I think we've all probably done some take on it. I mean, people that write, but I love that. I love that every time you use that familiar refrain that we're so used to from the wolf. I'm going to huff and I'm going to puff and I'm going to blow, but then you switch it, I'm going to blow bubbles. I'm going to blow bubble gum. I'm going to, blow out the birthday candles, and just that whole idea of little and good in a big bad world. Like it wasn't him that was big and bad, but the world is big and bad. And I think kids can certainly relate to that, and I think parents can relate to that for their kids too, right? Like that's how I think parents tend to see their kids.
Yeah, I think there's a lot in a lot of the songs. I was thinking about sort of feeling misunderstood, which I think is something a lot of kids can relate to. Grownups don't always understand what kids are feeling, what they're thinking. I remember feeling that way strongly when I was a kid, so kind of channeling that and bringing that throughout a lot of the songs was like, hey, like you don't know the real story, I'm misunderstood, was something to explore. Yeah.
Super fun. Let me think, which one have you gotten the most feedback from? Have you had ones that folks have reached out to you and said, oh my goodness, I love this song above all the others?
Yeah, so I've been, first of all, anyone who reaches out to author or musician or someone who's creating something and tells them they like their work, like that's so kind. It's really wonderful when people reach out to you in that way. So I appreciate all the comments that I've gotten. They've one of the things that I'm kind of happy about is that they've been pretty spread out among the songs. People are relating to songs in different ways. And I feel really happy about that. I think a lot of adults and parents relate to I Just Needed a Nap. And that was certainly written by me when it was during the pandemic and my kids their preschool was closed and they wouldn't nap, but I really wanted to. So I was definitely, write what you know. I was definitely drawing from personal experience on that. So I think a lot of parents relate to that. A lot of my son's friends really like the little Beware songs because they're kind of like a little riddle. Some of them have even invented their own.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah, which is super fun. That makes me happier than anything else. Like if this inspires kids to do creative work, then that's like the biggest dream I could have for it.
Love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then what's the story too? I've gotten some people, who have had some good comments about that, but it's been like I said, it is pretty spread out. I feel happy about that.
Yeah, that is awesome. So they're all being well received. I love the fairy godmother one too. Like that one's really, really fun. Again, a fresh take. You don't think about, she's out fulfilling everybody else's wishes, but what about her wishes?
Yes, and I wrote that song. I wrote that song with Mary Sohn in mind. Mary Sohn is like just this incredible comedian, actor, writer. You might have seen her. She's been on the show AP Bio and Work in Progress. She's like a great performer, and we've worked together before. We knew each other in Chicago, and so I was just so thrilled to get her to do it because I think that she is someone who is just like has a really powerful voice, but also like gives a lot of her time and energy, and so it felt like a good fit of a song for her.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would think parents can relate well to that one too. Like they're busy, giving to the kids and, probably need their own needs met and fulfilled every now and then. They'd probably like to have their own fairy godmother every now and then.
Make your own wish come true every once in a while if you can.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can't pour from an empty cup, right? You gotta fulfill some of your own wishes too.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, what would you like people to know about the album that we have not talked about?
Well, one thing that I'm really excited about for the album is that so there's a whole Fractured visual album that's going to come out the first week of October. And that's going to be lyric videos for each of the songs that have like animations and things like that. I think they're really fun. And I'm going to release it together as one sort of whole piece, but then also you'll be able to get the individual songs as well. So I think that's something that will be, fun for families certainly to watch. But also I hope that teachers will find it useful in the classroom as well. I think some of the songs would work really well as brain breaks, and others could be part of like tie-ins to certain curricular pieces, like lessons about fractured fairy tales or writing point of view, or opinion, fact versus opinion, like things like that. I think there are a lot of curricular tie-ins. So it's my hope that those will be like fun and also useful for people. So I'm really excited that those are coming out soon.
That's going to be awesome. Yeah, I use a lot of video in my K2 music classroom. And so I can definitely see myself using those. In fact, I wish that I'd had your album last year because I did my theme for last year was nursery rhymes and fairy tales and folk tales. Yeah.
A lot of teachers do units like that. So I'm hopeful the album will continue to find, fans and people who are interested in those kinds of topics and themes.
Yeah, and like we said, I mean, the wolf story in particular, I think about that because I think about the true story of the three little pigs and the three little wolves and the big bad pig. I mean, there's lots of different versions, but it would be so cool to have your version out there as a different format, to be able to compare and contrast and look at that from different perspectives and points of view. Point of view is another great topic that you could certainly talk about in the classroom, because that's basically what you're doing is looking at these ideas from somebody else's point of view rather than the one we typically get in the original stories. Well, maybe not the original stories, but the ones we're most used to hearing.
Sure, the most commonly known version.
Yeah, yeah. Is there a story that you didn't include that you thought you might and then you ended up not?
There are some killed darlings. There are some songs that didn't make it all the way. So there's one that was called Giant Steps. It's about Jack Duck. And I just had a hard time cracking it. It was kind of like just fun jokes about giants, and not really, it didn't have that point of view that a lot of the other songs have. And then there was also like a princess song where there were a couple of princesses singing together, and that one ended up morphing into just the Rapunzel Weighs In song, which is a callback to I Just Needed a Nap. So just a quick one joke Rapunzel song instead of like a whole thing about princesses.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so those were a couple that I played with along the way. I think someday I would like to do a stage version of Fractured. So if we need more material for that version, then maybe those songs will get a second life.
Yeah, they may be zombies just waiting in the drawer.
Exactly. Yeah, I never like totally kill the darlings. I like save they go out to pasture. So
absolutely, yeah. Yes, absolutely. Well, I love the idea of a musical. I hope that comes to fruition for sure. I think that'd be super fun. Now, before we came on officially, you and I were talking about some school visits and some concerts. So can you tell folks that might be listening and watching how they can access you for the possibility of a visit?
Yeah, absolutely. The best way to get in touch with me is through my website. That's www.taratrudel.com. I'm also on so many social media sites.
And they keep growing.
Yeah, the best place to probably reach me on social media right now would be either Instagram, which is at Tara_Trudel, or I also spend a lot of time on post.news. Even though it's a news site, it's kind of good for long form content. So I talk a lot about my writing process and my projects, like sort of a behind the scenes look at my projects on that site as well. So those are kind of the two best places to find me right now. I also have a newsletter that you can sign up for on my website.
Cool. And I'll link that below for those of you who are watching. I'll have all that linked below for you, along with tons of teaching tips. Some of them Tara and I have already talked about here, but I'll link up some other fun things for you. And I always include a Pinterest board and a YouTube playlist. So some of those things that Tara was talking about, you can look for those in the YouTube playlist. Certainly check out her website, and tell us about where the album itself is available. How can people get access to that?
Yeah, the album is on every music streaming site. So you can find it on Spotify, Apple Music. It's on iTunes if you prefer to download and buy music. It's on Bandcamp, another download site. It's on Amazon, really all the major sites where people get music these days. So you can look for it there. And then the visual album will be up on Vimeo and YouTube when it comes out in October.
Awesome. So exciting. And before we wrap things up, Tara, talk to us about are you working on something new now? What's coming next for you?
The next project I have that's going to be released is a theme song for an upcoming picture book. It's called KABOOM, A Volcano Erupts, and that's by Jessica Kulekjan and illustrated by Zoe C. And that's coming out with Kids Can Press in September. So we have a very fun, I get to write a song about a volcano. What a dream.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we have a fun song and movement activity that goes with that book. So that's coming out soon. And like I said, I'll be doing some performances this upcoming year. And then I haven't started writing the next album yet, but I'm thinking about it.
She's itching too. Can you see it?
There's going to be a follow-up to Fractured at some point. I'll come back here and break the news.
Absolutely. I'd love to have you back to talk about that. Are you anticipating that being like a sequel or totally just an unrelated concept?
The way I'm thinking of it right now is kind of a companion, but it's very, very early days on that one.
So. I gotcha. Yeah. exciting. And Tara has offered as a giveaway a copy of the book she was just mentioning, KABOOM, A Volcano Erupts. And of course, there's a fun song to go along with that. So as soon as that releases, whoever wins, we will get that out to you. So make sure you leave a comment on the blog. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you go to the blog and leave a comment there so that we can get you entered in the drawing. Before we wrap things up, Tara, is there anything else you want to tell us about this awesome album? Anything I didn't ask that you want folks to know?
I just also want to shout out the amazing people I worked with, because I really am so grateful for everyone who collaborated on it. My producer, engineer, mixer is a guy named Ben Harris, who I knew from Second City. We were both musicians at Second City, and now he works in recording studios, and I do this kind of stuff, and it was a really great mashup of our skills. And then the cast, you can learn all about the cast I also have a website, fracturedfairytalesremix.com. And that has all the cast bios. You can kind of find out about some of their other projects, because they're all actors, comedians, writers. It's a hard time for actors and writers right now with the strikes that are going on.
Yeah.
So please look them up and support them, because they're all just so incredibly talented and are putting out amazing independent work kind of on their own, like during the strike. So they're all worth following.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, I'll be sure to link that site below as well, so you guys look for that and follow all those amazing people that that Tara collaborated with to make this incredible album. I'll also be linking up either probably on the Pinterest board and in the teaching tips some fun books that would go along with Tara's album. So we were just talking about how the wolf song, Good and Little would be great with the true story of the Three Little Pigs, or the Three Little Wolves and the Big Bad Pig, some different versions of that. So it's a really super fun way to use the songs that she's written to get them in the hands of kids. But she mentioned tons of other ways, brain breaks and lots of other ways. So be creative and use these songs in all the fun ways that you can. Be sure to shout them out on social media. Purchase the album or songs off of it, leave a reviews, Amazon. Where else is good for reviews for music? We talk a lot about books, but I don't know for music what's best.
Not quite the same for music as far as reviews goes.
Okay.
Social shout outs are like the most helpful thing. And I always appreciate, like, even if it's just a private message to me and you don't want to put it on your public site, I really appreciate hearing from people who have listened to the album.
Gotcha. So shout outs on social media, the best way to propel this music forward. Share it with friends and teachers who might appreciate it, and kids, parents, families. Lots of fun ways to use the music. It's a great album, so make sure you check it out. Check out all the links below. And thanks again, Tara, for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, guys, we'll see you next time on PBJamz.
PBJamz, reading, writing, teaching. PBJamz, what a yummy treat. Jamming PBs all the time. PBJamz, jams, jams, jams. Picture books and jams. We'll see